Oh hey, what's up? So I've been playing a lot of Roblox recently, which is probably more apparent on my alt account pre-shop platinum, where I pretty much only play Roblox games. I mean, you know things are serious when I have 3 furry avatars on it.
Well, what is your favorite?
I mean, it's pretty obvious I've been getting into Roblox even in my main videos. In my Land to Rotate video, most of the sound effects I used were just from Roblox, because, I don't know, I like retro Roblox sound effects. But I'll just say it, Roblox is bad. It's genuinely so weird to see Roblox mutate into this weird content farm-esque nightmare, full of game passes galore that fill up 25% of your screen at absolute minimum, advertisements every death along the way, bizarre random tie-ins. What is going on here, BBC? Why do you look creepy? Useless gotcha machines that hunger for people to keep playing on and on for another pull on the slot machine. Some experiences straight up just make loud obnoxious noises to beg people to keep playing and squeeze out as much game time as possible. But despite it all, despite the 99.9% of complete utter garbage Roblox has, I still kind of like it. Admittedly, there's barely any games I play on it, but amidst it all, that 0.1% is full of the most talented, imaginative people creating games I still come back to this day. Games like Block Tales, Regressive Beta, Grace, Something Evil Will Happen, even classics like Natural Disaster Survival and Work at a Pizza Place I come back to every so often. And to finally get onto the subject of this video, Doors. Doors is a horror roguelike on Roblox created by Elsplash, mainly inspired by Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion, check out my video on it, where you traverse across 100 rooms with several entities coming after you. Right. Yeah, instead of specimens, we've got entities, 35 of them to be specific as of the content update, which we're going to be ranking for today, except not... because I have some rules for which entities I don't want to rank. There. I did a there because I just put that on the script. I put it on the script. 1. I want entities to do stuff. I'm not counting entities that barely do anything or have anything to dissect. Look at you, Jack. Oh, what jump scare people? Yeah, right, with that fat 1 in 2,000 chance. Same thing goes for Shadow, which I didn't even know existed before I saw the wiki. This also goes for Void, which is more so a utility entity than a real mechanic. Also, I play solo 98% of the time, so I don't really see Void. I swear I'm not lonely, I swear I have friends. 2. No clones. I'm not counting recolors, clones and other entities that do pretty much the exact same thing. This removes most of the April Fool's entities idea of versions of Rush, Curious Delight and the subspace trip mines that replace Dupe. 3. I get to do what I want. Lastly, I'm counting out Vacuum and the Draco Boxes because I see Vacuum more as a hazard like fire damps in the mines. And I also don't feel like ranking the Draco Boxes because they are just haste but slightly different. And they're just big meanies to me and they won't leave me alone. These guys are just jerks. Who would ever rank these guys? Anyways, this brings us down to 28 entities across the 4 currently available floors in game. So let's go! There. So when thinking about which entity to choose as the worst, I quickly pinpointed 2 of them I didn't particularly like. I mean, to give credit, they're not siren level bad, they're only just utter level bad. But I also can't say I really enjoy their presence, and unfortunately, the newest of these is dead last on the list. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, but it had to be done. I don't care for Sally, and I think she's an annoying and almost unavoidable entity that eats up more than half of your health, alongside one of your items if she spawns, which for a lot of entities, the damage Sally deals is enough for them to finish you off. Sure, you could avoid the health loss if you forfeit an item, but that may mean having to give up your only light source, and of course, if you've got nothing, then that's minus 2/3 of your health you can't avoid. And you know what sucks more is that Sally is such a creative concept for an entity, breaking through the window, by the way, that was her original name, it was Window, and taking one of your items instead of being yet another entity that damages you would have been really interesting, but the execution falls flat as it ends up being an unavoidable annoyance. Apparently Sally was initially supposed to be a very rare entity that you wouldn't encounter often, but someone, and I don't want to name names, Cheddar Balls! Stupid Cheddar Balls, more like, it's a snack like Cheddar Balls. Get it? Because it's worse, and I'll be honest, when ranking all the entities, including the April Fool's ones mind you, I didn't expect either of the April Fool's entities to rank all that high. I mean, they're obviously made for a joke and tend to have really weird balancing to add to the humour of the event. Anyways, I'm pretty sure everyone expected this one to rank near the bottom. Snare's an interesting one. It's by far the least alive? Sentient? Of the anomalous crew, being, well, a plant. But the wiki says it's an entity, the guiding light refers to it as if it's a name, it's got modifiers, I think this guy counts. Snare specifically spawns in the greenhouse at the tail end of the hotel, dealing damage and stunning players who run over it. Doors tip, I'd recommend using a lighter and candle for the greenhouse to identify snares, as they have a larger light range on the floor compared to the flashlight. Eyes also provides useful light on the floor for identifying snares. On paper, it doesn't sound all that threatening, just avoid it, and even if you get hit, you won't take fatal damage from them as long as I love pancakes isn't active. But it's a second effect that makes Snare so annoying. Once you step on it, there's nothing you can do as you slowly watch all stages of life wither away as your Roblox avatar slowly pulls their leg out of the stupid spiky plants. And if you're unlucky enough, you can actually get soft locked by them, leaving you at the mercy of dread to end your run. I did watch Think Noodles during it. Snare's not bad, it serves its purpose as a threat that can lead to an early grave by rush, but as the side effects of its mechanic, Snare ends up becoming an annoying waste of time when you're not under pressure to hide. So, back to what I was saying about how the April Fool's entities wouldn't rank high. I'm honestly kind of surprised they wouldn't rank above 2 actual entities, but Greed's kind of funny, sorry. Greed is a joke entity introduced in Super Hard Mode, and is based off one of the hundreds of fan-made entities that exist for doors. Okay, side tangent, but I find it really funny that one of the entities is, it literally is just Dearlord from Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion, and I am not joking. This is like, just a thing the community just did. Like, what if I did something like that? What if I did something like that?
Okay guys, so welcome to my Doors entity guide, where we are going to make a new entity for the game. So first up is you want a base, and I'm gonna use Think Noodle's avatar for it. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna edit it to make it creepier and scary. And what we do is we add some more eyes and a mouth too. I think people do. Oh, and remember to fill the background with a black so it fits the effect. And finally, you should add a filter for my entity. I made it in black and white, and that's how to make a Doors entity. Thanks for watching. Thank you for watching my series, the tutorial. Sorry, I meant tutorial. And remember to check out my Spyro series. It should be happening now.
Okay, that was way off track. Greed spawns in when you're collecting gold, and the more you collect, the bigger Greed grows. And once Greed fills your screen fully, they'll attack and deal a flat 100 damage. Also, when Greed appears, the Kitchen Nightmare stinger plays, which is very funny. Yeah, Splash is genuinely just kind of insane when it comes to April Fool's updates. So, how do you not get attacked by Greed? You kind of just do nothing, yeah, that's it. Yeah, Greed kind of shares the same issue as Snare, where it slows the pace of the game when looting. I mean, yeah, you can just not loot, but not only do you miss out on potential items, which spawn way more on Super Hard Mode, by the way, but you do need search drawers and key rooms. Well, unless it spawns on the floor in the corner, like, I mean, good thing to look for Elsplash. Why would you do that? But then again, Greed does make a funny noise when it attacks, which is very funny, so... Number 1 Doors entity, baby! Let's go! Help! I'm being attacked by Jeff the Killer! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! He's gonna get me! Oh no! You know, it's funny that was still scarier than anything in Dandy's world. Jeff the Killer is the other April Fool's entity, if that wasn't clear enough. Based off, well, Jeff the Killer, he'll make a straight beeline towards you and deal heavy damage. Like, more than half your max health heavy. And since Jeff moves faster than you, it's extremely hard to survive the Bleach Boy, especially without vitamins. Thankfully, Jeff's AI is insanely bad, and since he goes straight towards you, he can very easily get stuck on walls, letting you get a big enough lead to avoid him. For now. The only other way to counter Jeff is an item also exclusive to Super Hard Mode! It's a grenade. It's a grenade. So you may be wondering why I ranked Jeff, who is arguably an even less fair version of Sally, higher on this list. I mean, Jeff's not even a main game entity. Well... Jeff's funny. Old Jeffy here is meant to be an unfair entity that you go, God, what do I do? He's coming for you. Ah! But Sally wants to be an unsettling, albeit rare encounter that surprises you. But again, Cheddar Balls. Dude, I hate that Cheddar Balls guy. He keeps making like these dumb fake entities. I'm gonna bully him every chance I get from now on. So yeah, that's it about the Jeff the Killer situation. It was pretty insane. See ya. Ever since the Hotel Plus update, Elsplash has been adding new subfloors to the game, with the tense elf reality back door to the desolate throwback that is the rooms, which inspired doors in the first place. Yeah, it was rooms instead of spookies, but I wanted to bring up my video. There are only 3 threats you come across in this lengthy locale, 2 of which are clones of Rush and Ambush, but there's a special third entity between the Rushlights that's like no other entity. It's too bad that everyone hates this guy. A90, also known as Paralysis, is the second threat you tend to come across in the rooms, and on paper has an insanely basic and easy to handle mechanic. Just do nothing when it pops up and you'll be AO good. Wait, why do people hate this entity? Oh, that's unavoidable damage. That's unavoidable damage indoors. A90 is notorious indoors for being able to attack you unfairly as you enter closets. A90 not only attacks you for any player movement, which I would actually be fine with as you're given plenty of reaction time to hold still with your mouse, but the fact that A90 attacks you as you jump into a closet, which only requires a simple button prompt, can easily cause a quick death without any way to stop it. A90 frequently attacks alongside other entities too, making unavoidable damage even more frequent. It's a shame because A90 is one of the more unique entities, a lot like Sally, but is undermined by one of its own core mechanics. Ah well, at least it wasn't A40 from Rooms and Doors. I mean, can you imagine how much Fink Noodles would hate that guy?
I'm gonna go with Epic for A120, cause I have
I'm actually surprised with how few entities the mines added. I guess it was so few in comparison to the fan-made entities people made for the hotel, although I'd expect a sort of rotational system where some entities are swapped out for the newer ones, while still keeping the fundamental threats like Rush and Seek. But my best guess is that each floor after hotel is going to bring its own handful of entities specific to that locale. Unfortunately, I don't really like one of them. Gloombats are one of the 4 entities you come across in the mines and suffer a similar fate to the other low-ranking entities. They're annoying. Gloombats actively pursue light sources, including any you have active at hand, so you better put that torch down lest you become their next meal, and I do mean it, as dying to them becomes their nesting place of choice. Ugh. Much like Snare and Greed, they're more of an annoyance than anything by destroying any and all lights, as well as not letting you light up the place, at least not with the glow sticks. Not being able to see much is bad enough, but there's also Giggle, who can score some easy damage if you don't get out fast enough. Screech can also attack if it's dark enough, which, spoiler for the next entry, we'll get to soon. You know what, maybe sooner than I thought. I don't really have much to add to the Gloombats, but they're kind of just a forgettable entity, besides the haunting Screech that when first encountering made me think it was straight up a different entity. I kind of wish it was a different entity. Yeah, you heard what I said earlier, let's get this over with. Screech is one of the most iconic entities indoors, and a really divisive one at that. Some people hate Screech, whereas some people love their little guy. Some people really hate Screech, some people of which being Think Noodles. Doorstep. Screech always spawns right behind you, so as long as you aren't turning rapidly, then it should be a piece of cake to spot it. Screech tends to attack in dark rooms, giving you a when they're about to attack. Though, if you're fast enough to notice the screen shake, then you can scare it off quickly. This becomes vital though if you want to avoid a hefty 40 damage when putting on either of the Think Fast modifier. Yeah. Screech is the first entity we have here that has unique modifiers besides the standard spawn rate modifiers. In Screech's case, it just makes Screech more annoying and even kind of inconsistent. No joke, but it almost feels like Screech's attack time is random and ends up giving you next to no time to find it after the. Without modifiers though, Screech barely adds anything to the gameplay besides looking behind you every so often. I mean, if Screech was removed, I don't think much would change besides dark rooms being just, well, dark. So, in Spookies, Specimen 1, the cardboard cutouts, was made to parody jump scare games by showing how cheap they are, literally being confirmed to be made out of recycled cardboard. Like, get it? Because it's recycled jump scares, it's cheap. Cheap like cardboard? Cheap. It was a really fun subversion and also had humour with seeing people overreact to the funny chibi spider. Why did German do a guitar solo to that? What was he up to? Well, circling back to Doors, Timothy is what Spookies was making fun of. I'm sorry, but Timothy is such a nothing burger of an entity. I'm sure the Timothy Defense Squad will tell me that Timothy's supposed to be a cute guy. Why are you hitting on the silly spider? That's the thing. I don't. Timothy is just there and does nothing. What am I even supposed to say about him? He's a spider. He appears in the lobby. He can kill you with Itchy, which is pretty BS with Last Breath. Doorstep. Just don't use Itchy, it's just RNG. Yeah, Timothy kind of just exists and barely has anything to it. In fact, I'm not even sure why I had Timothy on the list besides, I don't know, I guess he has achievements. Though I do really like how you crucify Timothy. Yeah, you just smacked a guy. Is what you get for being lame. I find it interesting that out of the 25-ish specimens in Spookies, 3 of them essentially act the exact same as each other, making you have to look at them, or hit them with the axe which kind of trivializes 2 of them. But there's actually only 1 of them that acts the opposite, being Hook's doll. Now, I don't believe Eyes was entirely based off the Hook doll. If anything, Doors' entities feel more like they're based off analog horror than Spookies, with one glaring exception. But the similarities are actually kind of interesting, whether intentional or not. Alright. Eyes. Eyes is one of the most frequent threats you'll come across in a hotel, spawning every 10 or so doors, give or take barring boss floors. As I've hinted at earlier, Eyes is insanely basic. Don't look at it and you'll be fine. Unlike Hook's doll though, or for another doors like Slide from Grace, which both go on the attack when they reach you, Eyes deals chip damage when being stared at. This won't be much of a problem as it takes roughly a second to spawn in, which is more than enough time to react and look away from, especially with the blue glow it emits as an indicator. In some cases, Eyes can actually be helpful thanks to its visual cue. Well, actually, I guess non-lethal visual cue? Basically just a glowing part. Like in the greenhouse, to identify snares or show which door is the right way, which in my testing, Eyes almost always spawns roughly on the path from the current door to the next. Doorstep, Eyes can't attack you if you're looking straight down. Or straight up, but I don't know, I probably won't do that. Despite that, Eyes also has some pretty BS hit detection, specifically if you're looking barely below it. Much like a lot of the other lowing placing entities, Eyes isn't all that hard to counter, but now we can get to the entity evolutions in the mines. Screech also had this, but it was just spawning anywhere in that floor instead of exclusively in the dark. Eyes, however, got a pretty interesting buff, being able to warp around a room every couple seconds, which also became a modifier for the hotel. Alone, Eyes is pretty trivial to deal with, but can quickly become trouble when combined with Giggle, an entity that needs to be looked out for when evading it. However, Eyes also synergizes with another entity you wouldn't expect. Eyes becomes exponentially more deadly when there's more of itself. Like, oh my goodness. Now that's what I call an eyesore. So when an entity like Rush is coming, what do? Die? Well, how am I supposed to get footage of the other entities if I can't get past him? Hide... out of its sight? Alright, that works, but what's the point of closets all over the place then? Oh. This place is weird, man. Hide is an entity that exists to counter campers waiting for any of the Rush-like closets, or beds, but there's so much startup time that it's not worth it. A lot of the entities indoors become more prevalent the further you make it through, mainly through increasing the spawn rate, but Hide straight up gets more aggressive, which alongside Rent's Due, means you have to time your Hide near perfectly to avoid 45 damage, or dying to Rush depending on how early you enter. Unfortunately for Hide though, it can't really rank all that higher with the hand it's been dealt. I mean, sure, its Mind's ability is pretty interesting and can be pretty tense when combined with Ambush, but Hide has very little content to dissect as it's more of a support entity than a major threat that you've got on mind. Despite being a roguelike, Doors does a pretty good job at making sure every entity spawns at some point to keep you on your toes. From hiding on time to survive rush and ambush, to evading figure quietly while picking up books and... I guess not stalling? Despite how simple the controls are, L-Splash really does take an inch and make a mile out of the limited moveset you have. Anyways, Holt is probably the weakest movement-based entity. Holt is a late game entity first encountered in a hotel, although it's possible to encounter earlier or even not at all, but once Holt pops up, you'll have to make a cross in one piece by walking back and forward depending on when Holt walks behind you. In theory this is, really boring. Doors tip, if you've got a smoothie and vitamins, you can actually brute force your way through Holt's sequence in a hotel. I don't know, I just think that's funny. Seriously, Holt by itself would probably rank bottom 5 through how mediocre and uninteresting it is, but Holt's one and only saving grace are the rooms Holt attacks you in. Unlike every other non-boss entity, well, except technically the Rush-likes, Holt is the only entity to have a specific room once it spawns, which mainly does the heavy lifting when it comes to how intense Holt can be, and I'll say the Minds do the best on bringing out Holt's gameplay style, both variations mind you, not only making you have to plan accordingly which path you go through, but also adding some skill with netting a few more items during the chase. This also happens in a hotel too with the dining hall, but there's next to no risk in getting them, and there's so little stuff to do, you may as well just get it. So, I guess that means the best thing about Holt is... not Holt? Amidst the several entities harboring the Halo Black site, there's a lot of weird and rare ones. There's Mirage, a fake-out angler variant that exists solely to troll people. Stan, we don't talk about Stan. I mean, hell, even Rush and Ambush... sorry. Runner and Ambuscade, of course, if I have to be technical, can attack here, but the most well-known of Pressure's rare entities is the multi-monster itself, A60. Wait, wrong game. After traversing through the first 19 doors uncontested, Room 20 presents you with several lockers as the game gives you the advice, pay attention to sound and visual cues. Proceeding this, you're only given a few seconds to hide from the entity before it rushes by, breaking down the door ahead. You aren't safe in these rooms. Even though this guy's called A60. Wait, that's the wrong game again, why is this guy everywhere? A60 is the only entity, to my knowledge, to be essentially universal across all Doors likes. Well, except Grace, I mean there's no A60 in Grace. Originating from the Rooms, the game that inspired Doors, which in and of itself is inspired by Spookies, of which is parodying jumpscare game. A60 is the first threat you'll come across in the Room subfloor, being a red smiley face that acts as this floor's equivalent to Rush. Thing is, A60 waits for no one. The moment you open a door, A60 is coming up to you like you're a free Greg's Pizza, so finding a hiding spot when this guy is active should be your #1 priority. But most evil of all is that A60 is quiet on build-up. If you aren't paying attention, you will die when A60 catches up and devours you like a free Greg's Pizza. Other than that, A60 doesn't really bring all that much to the table. It's a very basic entity all things considered compared to the other Rush likes, including Rush itself, which keeps A60 from ranking much higher on the list. Actually, I'm hungry for some Greg's Pizza now, I think I'm gonna order one. The Mind's scripted events are honestly not that different from the hotel. Figure's the only entity that's really been changed up to make room for a new major threat, foreshadowed by coming across a room that's been dug out by something different. the hole is much larger than you, and besides figure, you've never really come across an entity that large. Skipping ahead to door 150, just as you think you've got some downtime to take a breather from the seek chase, you hear a booming groan and... Uh-oh. I think they found out who was bullying the giggles. Grumbles are a mine-exclusive boss entity that, only do anything of real value in door 150. They just kind of appear once, and then their queen tries to get you only to fail. Twice! Anyways, getting back to door 150, Grumbles are matured giggles, and I'm sure you're all surprised I have ranked this high, who patrol over the nest, which seems to be some sort of mineshaft that they've overtaken for themselves. Grumbles are another really basic entity and concept. Once they're in your sights, they'll actively pursue you so they can... they eat you.
Cheeseburgers.
So the goal on surviving these guys is to sneak by their holes, don't get spotted, and if seen, flash them with any light sources you've got. And honestly, door 150's difficulty really can vary depending on where the anchors and grumbles spawn. Quick and random facts I've learned recently: grumbles are way faster when they're far away from you. I don't know, I thought it was cool. I mean, I do want to get the most out of my 300 Robux purchase. The grumbles themselves aren't actually all that fast, which makes them pretty easy to evade. Problem is though, these guys just love to camp. Like really love camping to the point where it can take minutes on end to have an opportunity to get out. And this isn't even considering the possibility of them trapping you and killing you with no way out. But most dangerous of all is their queen. The queen grumble, signified by the huge crack-like symbol on its face, is straight up faster than you, and light sources do not work against her. If there's any entity you should use your crucifix on in the mines, what besides ambush appearing out of thin air, is their queen. I put grumbles this high because I do like the mid-boss floor's gameplay and concept, but they have too much of a tendency to make you wait for minutes on end. And well, I guess the last thing I should bring up is the Mine's Secret Chase, which features the Queen Grumble. Yeah, it's there. I mean, honestly, a tag team chase between Figure and Seek would be cooler, but, what are you gonna do? I mean, it's probably like a Doors fan game that's had that. Pressure, okay, I'll stop it a bit. I mean, there's only one other entity I could do this joke with right now. This is an entity found within the back doors, which serves the role as this subfloor's rush equivalent, which works as kind of a middle ground between rush and ambush, as it sort of rebounds while going through, which can very easily catch you off guard if this is your first time playing. Most interesting of all though, yeah, I'm bringing that up already, is that Blizz's rebounds are completely dependent on how much time there is in the back door, and tends to stop rebounding around 30 or so seconds or less to be more balanced and fair. So, if Blizz's mechanic is dependent on the timer, then what happens if there isn't a timer, like the hotel? What makes Blitz kind of bad. Blitz is by far the slowest rush-like, well, besides A120. We'll get to that smiley aimbot later. So much so that you can straight up avoid Blitz if you're fast enough, which is really funny because not only is its name ironic, but it reminds me of Grace actually, which is a pretty awesome game. You should play it. It's cool. It's like Doors and Pressure combined, which means it's like double. It's like twice as good as both of them. Regardless, I think Blitz needs haste to get the most out of it, because without it, it's just an easier, slower version of Rush that I keep dying to on accident because I'm impatient. Doors content update added 5 new entities Elsplash didn't so much as give an iota as to what they were. I already went over Sally, and I actually consider 3 of them to be part of another entity I haven't ranked it yet. But then there's Louie. Louie is one of the few non-hostile entities that exclusively spawns in the mines, being a semi-shop guy, which you can barter items with to get similar value items. Contrary to what you'd expect, giving Louie cheese doesn't actually result in a better trade-off. It's purely on how rare or potent an item is. So if you don't really need a current item like a lighter or strap light, you can still make use of them to get a potentially better item at the current moment. You can even gift a barrel of starlight, which for my parents watching, the barrel of starlight requires you to go through the entirety of the rooms, all 1000 rooms of it without dying, or even being able to use a crucifix, and then you get the barrel of starlight. Which is not easy, but you still get pretty decent trade out of it, as he'll gift you 4 items. Bonus! bonus door facts. Louis actually doesn't accept moonlight floats for some odd reason. Like, it's not consistent as Louis accepts a moonlight candle, but they just don't want a special smoothie, I guess. Keep in mind, Louis will only trade 2 items each encounter and won't trade items he's gifted you. But all in all, Louis is kind of weird to rank for this list. He barely exists and is extremely easy to miss, which can make him pretty forgettable if you aren't achievement hunting. But I decided to rank Louis higher than Timothy because despite his role, Louis at least actually adds to the gameplay and isn't an obtrusive annoyance that exists for no real reason. Yeah, I'm still mad about Timothy. Actually, I wonder what happens if I gift Louis a crucifix. What, was he that evil guiding light? If you're wondering, I just got my Greg's pizza now. It's pretty good. It's interesting going back to Hotel Minus now that it's been added to the content update because it really does show how far Elsplash has come and, well, not to be mean, but to see how empty doors used to be. Stuff like Jeff's shop, updated boss floors, and even decorations in the rooms are just kind of missing. Sometimes you just meet next to none of the entities anyways. Well, a handful that existed at the time. But the one entity that feels weirdest to not exist in the hotel back then for me was Dupe. Yeah, Dupe was the first entity I noticeably felt was missing from the hotel, which I guess shows how well Dupe blends into the hotel cast. And mine too, I guess. Dupe takes the form of a fake door, replacing what would otherwise be a side room, catching unsuspecting players off guard if they don't remember the door number, which Dupe will actively distort to try and stop you from just, well, invalidating its mechanic. I see a lot of people say that its pressure equivalent, Good People, is a lot better than Dupe since it's based around hearing instead of remembering the door number, but I actually hard disagree on this. Dupe's fake door mechanic is easy enough to remember that if you're paying attention, you can manage it in only seconds and keep the pace up. But in key puzzles, Dupe starts becoming a bigger threat. You gotta keep in mind what room comes next while searching for the key, and with Battle of Wits active, Dupe won't make any sound on fake doors, which I bet some of you don't even know about. Although, falling for Dupe's door isn't a worse though, as it only deals 40 damage, much like Screech. Keep in mind, Dupe also has synergy with Rush, especially in the mines. If you don't have the current room etched into your mind, then you're basically guaranteed to get hit at least once. It kinda makes me wonder if Dupe was partially why the Bandage Pack was added to compensate for how much more dangerous Dupe is in this floor. And if Dupe's deception wasn't worse enough... There can be 10 of these guys?! Yeah, Dupe has multiple copies when it spawns, and you can only take out a single Dupe with the crucifix. But I wouldn't pop a crucifix over Dupe with its main weakness. Roblox text chat. Dupe has a glaringly easy oversight that barely takes any effort to pull off, and actually makes Dupe easier to deal with when Battle of Wits is on. Seriously, it's a little too easy of an oversight to pull off, and really does knock a few points off against Dupe. Still, I think Dupe is a really good addition to the cast that tests your focus and memory over something basic like timing and camera control. Although, in theory, the text chat cheese kinda ruins my entire argument for why Dupe is this high on the list. I don't have much of an idea on how I'm gonna reveal Giggle, so I'm gonna go over the community's opinion on this guy. Giggle is a notoriously polarizing entity with fans, way more so than Screech was in a hotel. Doors really said, we know you hated Screech so much, so we added 2 more entities with a colon, that look exactly alike and are even more annoying. Enjoy! Bro really said, oh my goodness, does anyone know how to open a sentence while using the word bro? Doors floor 2, Screech's revenge. Anyways, some people hate Giggle, whereas some people love their little guy. Some people really hate Giggle. I don't know if Think Noodles hates Giggle though. I don't know, to be honest. Me though, yeah, they're pretty alright. Giggles almost always end up being the first Mines entity you'll encounter, which ironically is the last Mines entity we're covering on this list. Residing on the top of ceilings, Giggles wait for unsuspecting players to attack from above, taking a decent chunk of health away, alongside locking out using items or really being able to move much, which leaves you vulnerable to entities like Rush and Screech. Wait, this doesn't sound very good. In fact, this is pretty similar to Snare, an entity only ranks above Sally. Creep Trap, how the heck is Giggle better? Giggle's more based? No, but in all seriousness, Giggle feels like Snare done right, not only adding to the world, but having clear ways to counter the threat. Giggle, well, giggles whenever it's nearby to alert you of its presence, usually before you even encounter it. As opposed to Snare being a tough look vest spawn on a door, bitch. Giggle lets you stun them by shining light sources at them, or hitting them with a glow stick, it's your choice, buddy. But the thing to note here is that there's always options to manage around Giggle, despite being a fairly common entity, of which Giggle's giggling can be turned off for an extra challenge with Giggle's modifiers. Not the glow sticks though. The back door is considered a pretty tough subfloor, which I totally agree with, despite the pacing and 50 door count compared to a certain other subfloor. It's a pretty stressful run. Even if you got the lockdown on all the entities, you just can't speedrun through, as some levels won't be like, OW! Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about this guy. Besides Vacuum, which again I don't really count, Lookman is by far the most slept on entity in the back door, but weirdly enough, I think that adds to how effective it can be. The Lookman is the back door's equivalent to Eyes, and by that I literally mean it. This was the beta version of Eyes, before it was changed to the Infestation. Oh, this one. You come across in the main floors. Okay, wait, let me get a straight, Creep Trap. You put the Lookman, you put this guy, above the entity with more modifiers, the ability to warp around, and has an, honestly cooler, death animation. Yeah. Doorstep. Lookman always spawns high up, meaning you don't have to look completely down to avoid its attack, which in some cases makes Lookman a bit more generous than Eyes. But what Lookman lacks in flair, it absolutely makes up for in subtlety and danger. Glare at it, and you're taking a rough 20 damage as the lights flicker heavily. The only cues you get are the translucent shadow and quiet ambience it emits, making it easy to catch you off guard when it spawns. You ever wonder why every Hotel Hell or Hardplay setup doesn't add this entity, or why it even gives you an extra 10% knobs compared to the 5% between A60 and A120? Yeah. Continuing off what I was on about with Hotel Minus, I find it so weird Gold existed before Jeff's shop. It just felt like such a natural inclusion that not seeing Jeff soon after door 50 is even more bizarre than the fact that they just kind of ignore any of the paranormal entities around here. Wait, hombre, you forget us! You're not really much of an actual entity, though. You spit it at us in! Wait, where's a Bob? Bob? Yeah, dude, the guy over there! Okay, but this is gonna be the last time. You better not have, like, an ant guy called Joey or whatever. Jeff's shop is your one break to catch your breath and grab some items for the usually harder second half of the run. Some people would say that Jeff's shop ruins the atmosphere and horror of the game, but I disagree pretty hard with this. Okay, well, just the atmosphere part, despite what I said half an hour ago, I actually wouldn't consider Doors to be a horror game, more just a spooky game. The amount of personality and charm with Jeff's makeshift saw really adds some life to the main floors and even makes the back door and rooms feel more desolate by comparison. And besides, Pressure has Sebastian, who...
I don't even understand what just happened. I think an entity tried to attack us.
I get you, Sebastian people now. Initially, Jeff's shop spawns in door 52, but this was later on changed to vary around the 50s to, I don't know, keep you on your toes. Though I do like the introduction on both floors added in the content update, with Jeff trying to persuade you over with party lights and signs leading to his makeshift store. I mean, there's not really a way to avoid it, but it's the thought that counts, you know. In floor 1, Jeff's shop, while in my opinion not as good looking as the floor 2 version, which has better music too, is insanely useful if you're running dry on items, due to how few items you can end up finding in the hotel. Jeff's also your main source of the crucifix and skeleton key, two normally rare items that can be obtained pretty easily as long as you've been searching thoroughly around for gold. The latter of which not only unlocks the Herb of Viridis, a permanent buff that heals you 5 HP each room, but also unlocks the rooms. Whereas Jeff isn't as useful in the mines due to the much higher spawn rate, it still makes for a decent refill for bandages and batteries. Oh, by the way, crucifix don't spawn in Jeff's floor 2 shop. In fact, there's zero variation, it's always the same items, which I find kind of weird. I actually don't know why Elsplash was hesitant on giving you a crucifix in Jeff's shop, as the crucifix's natural spawn rate is roughly the same as the hotel, making it fairly tough to get a floor 2 entity crucifiers if you're going for 100%. What about us? I literally just told you that you didn't add anything to the game. Well, what about Bob Dude?
Nothing happens?
All things considered, Doors is a pretty well put together game. Well, I mean, I guess compared to pretty much everything on Roblox. I mean, Roblox by itself is just insanely janky. Entities are usually pretty balanced, so you've got breathing room between encounters. Most of the time, you can get by with whatever items you can find. Glitches are very few and far between, which is a surprise given what side this game's on. Even with tons of modifiers active, the game still runs along with relative ease, to the point where you have to do specific setups in specific subfloors to even see glitch. Oh wait, glitch. Without an S. Right. No joke, but Glitch was originally never supposed to be on this list, as Glitch used to do what Void does now. However, as of the content update, Glitch was actually changed to be a canon entity, which has some interesting lore implications about how it fits into the game in a meta way. Which... okay, this does sound dumb, like, does this game? Like, yeah, no shit it is, but why does Glitch veto in for Void in the back door and rooms? Glitch does no damage when it teleports you, unlike Void, so it's even more up into the air as to what Glitch's motives are. Pretty random fact, Void's damage can be avoided by popping a crucifix, but Glitch is immune to this, although there would be no reason for a crucifix to be used as it does no damage. Glitch has one weird addition though, something that was finally added into the content update, that is the reason why Glitch is on this list. Glitch can corrupt entities, as if the rushing smiley faces haunting the hotel wasn't weird enough. If you encounter Glitch enough, which is pretty much impossible in a normal playthrough, you may come across a broken flickering Glitch fragment. Interacting with one of these will cause Glitch to run into you before spawning in one of 3 Glitch entities based on the standard hotel cast. Runuri, Glitch, Rush and Ambush both work fundamentally the same, both rebounding constantly with extremely buggy lighting that's really unsettling to look at, but like in a good way where it really feels like you're doing something the game didn't intend. Glitch Screech, however, attacks through sheer brute force, which can actually just be countered by going into the closet. Awesome. Surviving these broken entities will net you a hefty 402 gold, for some reason, alongside a random buff which might not even really help. Honestly, Glitch makes it this high because of the concept and mystique around why this mesh of glitchy parts is following us around. I could wax poetic and theorize a bit more, but I'm kinda lazy. Doors is pretty random. I mean, like, wow, great observation, Creetrap. It's almost as if the game uses seeds to randomly generate a run and you literally stated it was a roguelike. And there are a lot of wacky hijinks that can ensue with whatever entity combos you get. Sometimes sequel appear at door 25, sometimes they won't show up until you're just about to hit door 50. But it'll always happen before the midway point because... Dude, imagine having a room at door 1 and you wanted to get a book from here. No matter what, Figure will always spawn on door 50 alongside its library, who's the first major boss you'll have to face off against. Unlike Seek, who requires quick reactions and movements, Figure is countered by pressing shift and... well, that's about all you need to do to survive Figure. Crouching isn't going to be your key out through, as you'll have to maneuver around Figure and make sure it doesn't corner you. You can, as a last resort though, hide in closets, but you have to get through a minigame! Sorry, I don't know what got over me. I think I've been referencing Pressure too much and it took over like a demon or something. I should go see a therapist. I don't think it's normal to see white dragons following you around after you make fun of Pokemon, and it's deviation from polishing QA testing. The therapist can wait, this video is more important. I'd recommend going against hiding in closets though, since it's easier to just stay out of its way and hook the bookshelves, which have more than enough room to let you slip by now thanks to the content updates overhaul of their library. Which, to get on a slight tangent, I love the new design for the library. It looks gorgeous, and even in the normally out of bounds areas you can only access with admin panel, which is where I'm at right now. But once you know you're routing around here, this becomes a pretty breezy boss fight to get past. Figure isn't just a one-time encounter in the hotel though, as it comes back for seconds in door 100, mostly working the same way it did in the library, though this time the hallways are way tighter, so you're gonna have to react accordingly to where Figure's moving. I wouldn't say door 100 is much harder, as Figure barely goes in the side rooms and mainly circles around the main warehouse. Door tip, don't use the flashlight while Figure's around. Figure makes up for its lack of sight by hearing pretty much anything, but weirdly enough, the flashlight is the only traditional more light source that angers figure, and it's not even consistent where it will just happen. Hello. Same thing goes for the drawers. Sometimes figure will attack you and sometimes he won't, he just won't care. In floor 2, figure's given way less of a role, just appearing in 2 doors, which... wait, no, that's just the same amount as in floor 1. It's more so the same, get past figure and you'll be AO good, but figure also has items designed to counter it, which can trigger figure into a fury where you place them. Though, I'd recommend using the alarm clock in tandem with vitamins to get most out of distracting figure. But I wouldn't even use vitamins to get away from figure because, well... figure's kinda broken. If you can get clock into somewhere figure can't enter, which is pretty easy to pull off, figure starts bugging out and randomly runs around due to how it can't pathfind its way to the clock, which can... it can go on for a while. And that kinda sucks because figure definitely has the potential to be a really good entity. I mean, it rocks a sick as hell design, and a ton of love was definitely put into the animations and lore. There's a heavy flesh motif with figure as if it's a weird distorted Robloxian, overtaken by the flesh growths that's corrupted its mind, only feeding into endless hunger. Too bad it doesn't know how to check corners. The rooms are notorious for being a sheer endurance test to hit door 1000. I mean, A60 and 90, most of the time, are easy enough to handle and react accordingly, but you have to commit to making it through, because if you don't focus through, then a smile's the last thing you're gonna see. Okay, there's no way I can make that sound cool, that is so stupid. If there was any entity that would be crowned the silent killer, A120 easily takes the cake. What may initially look like a weaker ambush, A120 is almost built to throw you off from the other rush lights. It's the only one that attacks you exclusively from the front. The sound, which is the only thing you'll be alerted to its presence, is much quieter and blends in seamlessly with the rain if you have room for more active in the hotel, which is a far cry from its subfloor's rush equivalent A60. Its slowness, which may seem helpful at first, becomes a real threat with high, becoming absurdly tight with rent steel if it's active, and most sneakily of all, you don't know if it's coming back. A120 has a chance to rebound, and that word right there, chance. This isn't like ambush, you know will always rebound. A120 can come back whenever it feels like, which with the aforementioned quiet approach sound, can be lethal if you aren't absolutely sure it's gone. Oh, did I say most sneakily? Yeah, I'm not joking with either part of the Silent Killer title. A120 directly targets where you are when approaching, making normally safe hiding spots, well, not safe. Okay, well except this, so it's kind of weird which spots are actually safe from A120. So basically, this is what Loculus would look like if A120 was in pressure. Splash really knew what they were doing when making the back door subfloor for the hunt. It's short, but you're never safe. Not only are there more advanced entities out for you, but you're next to the void at all times, and one wrong step means you're taking an impromptu vacation trip there. Okay, so if I'm traveling through here, I'm gonna die to the entities and void. So what if I just, well, do nothing? Uh-oh. Haste, if it wasn't obvious enough, is doors equivalent to the Taker from Spookies, down to both being time-oriented skull entities that flash hex once they catch up to you. Haste, however, doesn't attack from idling. Haste attacks when you're out of time, and the only way you're gonna keep the clock up is by flipping any levers you can find, which oftentimes spawns in sub-rooms, which in turn makes vacuum an actual threat you have to take into account, lest you trek on, potentially causing you to miss any levers placed in the sub-room. Which actually brings me to the hotel. Surviving haste in the hotel is a complete toss-up, even with maximum overdrive, because a lot of entities weren't built with haste in mind, especially Ambush, who tests your patience. But for some weird reason too, the hotel also will sometimes just not give you levers to increase the timer. Combine that with key or cellar rooms, and haste is sometimes nigh unbeatable on some seeds. Don't get me wrong, haste adds so much to the gameplay, there's a reason it easily made it onto the top 10 through the sheer intimidation it brings, but I really hope they can tweak haste a bit for the hotel before they work it into the mines. I mean, God forbid we get pre-patch haste in the mines.
Oh, thank God, there's a lever. Pull it. Pull it. Pull it. Pull it. Bro, pull it! Pull the lever!
Every entity I've covered so far, except A90, which kind of mostly attacks alongside the other room's entities anyways, has just set spawn on each door, some more predictable, some that can happen at any time, all of which you can brace for. But there's one entity that's always looming. An entity always after you. Even if it's not noticeable, it's always waiting. Waiting for you to give up. Dread's normally a very rare entity on a casual run. As long as you're constantly on the move, you won't even know of its existence, but you're never truly safe from it. Unlike every other entity, Dread can spawn in any room, although for certain rooms like boss floors, Dread takes much longer to spawn. But Dread also gets more active the further you get in, like Hyde, especially once you reach the greenhouse. Dread's approach isn't obvious, but can be felt with everything losing saturation and a low foreboding ambience plays. Dread also breaks down the lights, leaving only the few light sources that are typically unaffected by rush and ambush. Most of this isn't a problem though. Dread takes way too long to spawn, and if you aren't a Doors fan, I bet almost none of you know about Dread, but that changes with the modifier Destiny Still Arrives. Destiny Still Arrives makes Dread an especially dangerous entity in the mines, attacking in as few as 5 seconds nearing the end of your run, which can be real trouble knowing how rushing gloombats can open doors and start the timer when you're still in the previous room. Even ambush in a hotel can be a threat with how long it attacks for, and entering closets does count for being active, but even more so than haste. Dread reminds me a lot of the Taker from Spookies, but instead of actively pursuing AFK players to add to its flesh, Dread specifically attacks if you continue to play while not entering the next room, which to my personal interpretation is the player losing the will to move on, and Dread is an amalgamated mix of the supernatural in the hotel and, well, the player's own Dread of course. Of all the entities too, Dread is the one entity I genuinely feel unnerved by, as it's always just there, slowly approaching. Dread isn't a death sentence once it spawns, however. In fact, it's slow enough that you can keep away while moving backwards, but coming into contact with Dread is an instant kill once Dread... trigger warning for trypophobia ahead. I assume what happens is Dread engulfs you, completely stopping you and, well, you die. Man, that's dark. Guess I should bring up what Dread's April Fool's lines are.
Dread's reaction.
Dread's
reaction.
That really kind of just kills the atmosphere and the lore I'm trying to build with Dread.
Reaction.
One step closer to victory.
You know, I'm starting to realize this place is kind of dangerous. I mean, there's evil rushing smiley faces, fake door hand guys, little devil girls coming out of the window. Heck, you can't even catch a break without one of these entities coming to get you. But through it all, despite everything, there's always someone out there to help you. Someone there to guide you through. Like a light. Oh, peak writing, absolute cinema writing on my part. Okay, at this point I'm just ranking mechanics now. The guiding light is the one true support you have for outdoors. I mean, sure there's Jeff, but... shut up. I'm trying to set the mood. I was actually debating on whether I should count the guiding light, as it's extremely different to the other entities, even with how varied they are, but I overall decided to add the guiding light as it does affect the gameplay. Although, I'll be honest, this is just to mainly hyperfixate over doors or, sorry. Guiding light appears whenever you haven't found a key, switch, etc, basically just to help keep the pace going. However, the guiding light takes a more active role during boss sequences, like the Seek Chase, lighting where you have to go and which paths you take. It's even implied that in your first encounter with Figure, guiding light breaks one of the lights to keep Figure away from you, and also provides the minecart you ride during the first Seek Chase in the mines. But most importantly of all, the guiding light is the entity that gives the crucifix the power to banish, or stun in the boss entity's case, the monsters around you. Interestingly enough though, the guiding light isn't all powerful. I mean, if it was, doors would barely even be a game. When you go to the rooms with a crucifix in hand, it loses its functionality as the guiding light can't enter subfloors, which is pretty interesting. This also applies for the back door and soon to come, well, whatever subfloor the greenhouse is. It's also odd to know that while it can prevent entities like Figure and Seek from entering rooms, it's powerless against Rush and its variations. The last thing about Guiding Light is that it provides the rift that allows you to send an item over into the next run, but it can also transform items like the Candle and Smoothie into some of the most powerful items in the game. I'm wondering how to expand on the Architect's lore since we don't really know much about the red symbol, often referred to as the mischievous light. I know a lot of people make it have beef with the Guiding Light, but honestly they should probably just make out already. Doors for the most part is pretty easy. Once you know how each entity works, there's not much trouble with countering them, and you have enough time to assess what to do and plan out. Entities like Hulk even reward your expertise and skill when you can multitask grabbing loot and surviving Hulk. Even with the Grumbles and Haste, what I consider to be some of the harder entities in the game, a lot of the trouble comes from bad luck more so than needing precise timing or movement. There is an exception though, an outlier with all the entities. Ambush is genuinely kind of an evil entity. Much like A120, almost all of its design is made to throw you off. Unlike Rush, it attacks more than once, rebounding over and over. Whereas there was a chance A120 was going to come back, you know Ambush is going to come back. But you don't know how many times Ambush is going to rebound. This screaming head of eternal suffering wants you dead, and it will do everything it can to make you slip up. On Ambush's first run through, it takes a while for it to attack back, which if you're not careful, will let Hide catch you, leaving you open to Ambush's attack. Its range is terrifyingly large, killing you in places you'd otherwise be safe from rushing, and it's faster than Rush to boot too. And I'm surprised that pretty much everyone dies to Ambush in their first encounter. Hell, Guiding Light straight up says it's the tricky one to survive. That's not even getting into the modifiers with Ambush. After image boost, it's already high speed, to the point it can reach the room you're in under a second, so you better have some fast as hell reaction times if you're not planning on using muscle memory to remember when Ambush starts moving. But it's also back for seconds, which is the basic increased spawn rate modifier, but below it is something you should never try. Okay, well not really, you can use it if you want to, I was just trying to be dramatic and stuff. Again and again and again, in my opinion, is the hardest modifier in the game, well, skill-wise at least. The moment you hit door 7, Ambush spawns way earlier than normal, but this is only a sign of things to come. Ambush is here to stay whether you want it or not. Every 20 or so seconds, it's back to do another rebound. Oh, and sure, you could crucify Ambush and stop it for a while, but it's gonna come back next spawn. Oh, by the way, this modifier is also broken. It's actually been broken for a long time. Sometimes Ambush's movement is completely bizarre and out of place, but also, Ambush can attack in the door 100 figure boss fight right in the breaker room too, so you don't have enough time to solve the power before Ambush comes back. When I said this was the hardest modifier, skill-wise, it really is unwinnable. Oh Splash, finish your game! I'd be lying if I said L-Splash wasn't biased with their own entities. I mean, most of them do feel like they have their place and aren't just forgotten after they're added, and of course some of the entities have only been here recently, relatively. But some of them, like Eyes, are just kind of there. I mean, as if there's anything to do with them. But out of the 3 current boss entities, I'd be remiss to say that there's a clear favourite between them. Seek is, pretty obviously, the main antagonist of Doors, appearing in both the main floors chasing you twice, and even straight up being the final boss of floor 2. On the surface, Seeker is pretty basic, and if anything, it's the closest Doors gets to copying its indie horror roots. But even in your first encounter, Seek's chases are defined by having to think and act fast, choosing the correct door to go through and avoiding whatever's in your way. Seek has a lot of lore implications about what's going on with it. A lot of people associate Seek with the mischievous light, with how it emits red light and is evil. Actually, why is Seek and the other entities after the player? Like, I get if they wanted to keep the hotel to themselves, but they follow you past the hotel. Though, out of all of them, Seek is hell-bent on killing you, to the point it will stop other entities in their way to kill you. But for lore implications, I mainly want to bring up floor 1 for now. See, with Screech, remember that guy? He was like 20 placements. Oh, this one. Screech had a weird resemblance to Seek in a way with the same goopy texture, which got even more suspicious when floor 2 introduced Giggle, which was Seek. But not evil? Which brought people to the likely conclusion that Screech is an overtaken Giggle?
Mamma mia!
And as of Floor 2, the ending shows Zeke overtaking the Queen Grumble, which everyone quickly took as the new main threat for Floor 3, in which they dubbed it as, Scrumble. Yeah, the Doors fandom isn't known for being good at naming entities. Floor 2 ends with Zeke as the final boss and confirms that Zeke isn't the humanoid figure that it takes on during the mid-floor chases, which I honestly wonder why Zeke does this by choice. It's not even a Robloxian, which is odd to say the least in this universe. I think Zeke's boss fight in the dam is a really good way to end Floor 2, expanding on the new jumping mechanics during Zeke's first Minds chase. Although the jumping is a little jank sometimes, it really makes you feel like you're single-handedly stopping Zeke. Well, at least for now. He comes back like 2 minutes later. It's also kind of early for Zeke to be a final boss so far, seeing how prominent it is to the story, and I prefer to see the build up on what Zeke can do. I mean, Zeke is not like the Roaring Knight or whatever. A lot of love was clearly put into Zeke and is shown with by far the most exhilarating chase segments, aggressive and expressive animations that show how determined Zeke is, and in my opinion, the best boss floor out of them all, with more to surely come along in the future. Anyways, back to the Doors fandom. Why the fuck did you create Neko Zeke, guys? Oh man, I put like the main villain in second, which Elsbash put so much time and effort into. I really need to justify why this entity is in first. I mean, it's better than Ambush, which I've already said is harder, The Guiding Light, which has infinitely more lore and potential to it, or Dread, the secret entity that's much more terrifying and has potential ties to the player. Well, honestly, I think Rush perfectly encompasses the spirit of Doors. Boring first pick, I know, but Rush undoubtedly is the face of Doors. Even with Zeke's relevance to the overall story and game, I think Rush is just more iconic in general, mainly through how prevalent it is in every run. No matter what, Rush will always be part of a Doors run in any floor. Even in subfloors where Rush doesn't spawn, it's still there in spirit through the variations that base themselves on Rush. Okay, well not A60, Rush is literally based on A60. On top of that, Rush is the first NC you'll come across, and boy does it leave an impression the moment the lights flicker. Rush is immediately your top priority as its haunting roar approaches closer and closer. The fact that it's an instant kill makes it such a huge threat, and Rush makes sure you don't want to get caught, having one of the most unique death sequences as Rush watches you, sometimes just lingering on its face for a while while Rush inevitably rushes in for the kill. Okay, yeah, I know this is like an analog horror jump scare, but the VCR buzz combined with Rush's empty face has honestly kind of grown on me the more I've played this. Rush is admittedly a simple entity, but a fast and effective test of your reactions and timing, and really sets in what you're going to expect going through this game. Even having extra layers of skill tied to it, letting you risk it all if you want to speedrun through, because Rush's insta-kill isn't the only thing Rush has up its sleeve. Face, I guess. I mean, it's a weird sort of smiley face, but how many parts Rush could use to hide? Rush has the chance to straight up just not spawn immediately and appear later. Sure, the game might throw you a bone and flicker the lights again, but sometimes it won't, so you better keep in mind the flickering that's going on, especially with its modifiers. One of them straight up makes Rush completely silent, so you better have the timing burned into your mind if you want to have a shot at mastering Rush. But overall, Rush is really the perfect entity that helps Doors set itself apart from Spookies, and it's no wonder why Rush is the one entity every Doors like keeps over because of how integral Rush is to the gameplay. If it wasn't for Rush or any of the variations that expand on the mechanic, I don't think Doors would be where it is now. Even if I've kind of lost interest in Doors over time, even while working on this video, I've been playing Grace more recently, which is actually pretty peak, you should play it, there's a new update. Doors is still an insanely phenomenal game for Roblox, pushing the graphics, style, and okay, well not really the gameplay. I mean the gameplay is fun, but it's still pretty simple. But on top of that, Doors was the game that got me back into Roblox and indirectly introduced me to games like Block Tales and Grace. Anyways, now that Doors has revealed the trailer for the new update and has jumped back into relevancy, I sure can't wait for the comments to be talking about the new entities I didn't rank, despite this video being in development for over 3 months now, and as of recording, it hasn't even been out yet. If you comment that, I will genuinely be so pissed off that you consciously decide to do that. So, what do I do next? Rank the Regret Phase NPCs? Maybe the sword fight on the Height Swords? Roblox ARGs? Anyways, thing news, play Block Tales Chapter 3 and 4, or I will send Zeke to your house.